share my screen first. Okay. So Felani, can you turn on the camera? Fatin Awatif, can you turn on the camera? Okay, Nasuha, please turn on the camera. Okay. So now you can see my screen, right? Okay, this is the analysis for the results. Okay, so this is the analysis for the IWK203. So those who scored this subject, basically solid A, 35, and then 21 of you get A minus. Only 2 of you get B plus. So due to the final exam results, as you can see, is that 11 of you failed the final exam. Okay, 11 of you failed the final exam. 2 of you get D minus. 7 of you get D. And then the rest, I think, is quite okay lah. And then I want to congratulate to those who get solid A. Actually, I know who is the student. Congratulations. You love to mark your final exams paper. It's very easy for me to give marks to you guys. Also, same goes to Dr. Lee and also Dr. Hafiz. But overall, your results, your batch result is better than your senior, because last year only 1 of them get in A, and then 3 of them get in A minus, and then the rest, I think the result is quite flop, not good at all. But your batch results is much better, okay, far superior than your senior. So congratulations, meaning to say the different approach that we use throughout last semester proven that it works to you guys, and then hopefully this year for IWA283 you guys also will get a very good result. So this is from the OCAD system. Okay, as you can see from the baseline, actually for all the CLOs, we achieve all the CLOs, and then congratulations for you guys. So I don't need to answer any question during the exam board meeting. Okay, I think that's all. Just to recall back your results for IWK203. Why I want to recall back your result, because what you have learned from the IWK103 and IWK203, you need to utilize what you have learned from both of these courses in IWA283. Okay? I hope those who get a solid A for IWK203 can write a very good discussion for the lab report. So, without further ado, I would like to show you the instructional plan which I have uploaded in the e-learning. Okay, let me... Macam mana nak besarkan screen ni? Sorry. Okay. Okay, this is the... Sorry. Okay, this is the instructional plan. So you shall have the lab for every Tuesday. Okay, and then from 2 p.m. until 4:50 p.m. depending on the lab assistant. Sometimes the lab assistant okay with you guys to stay longer in the lab, but it depends on the lab assistant. So you need to cooperate with Encik Mazlan and also Puan Hasni. Okay, so basically in this course, we have 3 CLOs. Okay, I think every semester I always emphasize on the CLOs, because at the end of the course, you need to know what actually you learn in this course, okay? Because in this course, we have 3 main objectives, the course learning outcome. So for the first one is to follow the practical manual instruction to run experiment related to pulp and paper. And then the second one is to perform the practical in the group. So later on, you need to fill up the form for the quality work. So you will assess your friends, and then you will assess the leader of the group. And then the last one for the CLOs is actually we have 4, and then perform the practical in group. The second one is analyze and discuss the data critically. And then the last one is report the practical work with support of relevant information from various sources. Meaning to say, when you write a discussion for your lab report, you need to make sure no less than 10 publication you use as a reference. Okay, no less. More is better. So for that, you will score higher for this part, for the CLO4. Okay, and then this course will be taught by me and also Associate Professor Dr. Muhammad Hafiz Muhammad Kasim. So we will together will teach you guys for the Iwa283. And then, as you can see from the instructional plan, so actually today we will have an online, actually currently we have an online class. So supposedly I should brief the experiment in the lab. So it's more efficient because I can show you the instruments, the equipments that related to the experiment one. And then next week, we will not have any class because we have the Hari Raya. So next week we don't have any class, no physical or online class. And then you guys will start your first experiment in the third week. But Encik Mazlan told me in the third week, maybe there are some electricity problem, but I don't know. I'm not sure. I'm not sure for that. So probably there will be an electricity problem on the week 3, but it's not final yet. Later on, I will update you guys. But if everything is okay, we will start the experiment as soon as the week 3. Because for the experiment one, based on my experience, I handled this course for 3 years already. Usually, student will take about more than 4 weeks to complete the experiment. Okay, more than 4 weeks. But right now, you guys only have 4 weeks to complete everything. Okay, what actually happened? It is because of the limited of the equipments, because you need to share the equipments. You need to wait for the other group to complete the experiment first. So this is where the concept we use first come, first serve. So as a group leader, later on I will appoint the group leader for each experiment. You need to be very efficient. You need to be very calculative. Okay, and then you need to strategize how can you manage your group, your lab mates, okay, your group mates. How can you complete the experiment as soon as possible? Okay, I don't want to change any of the instructional plan, if possible, but it depends on the situation. Okay, it depends on the, I don't know, depends on the situation. So hopefully you guys can complete everything within 4 weeks for the experiment one. Experiment one is a very lengthy experiment because it requires time for you to screen, to calculate, to measure the moisture content, and then to use the equipment. So basically the parameter. So all of these will affect the completion of your experiment. Okay, the experiment one. And then after you complete the experiment one, I expect you guys to submit the lab report. And then concurrently, you need to submit the work quality. And then after we complete the experiment one, we shall proceed with the experiment two, where we will learn about the kappa number determination. And then we'll have the mid-semester break for 1 week. After that, we will continue the experiment 3. So this one also a very lengthy experiment. So for the pulp beating, so this one is about 3 weeks, because after you complete the pulp beating, you need to measure the freeness, and then you need to measure the fiber length, and then so many pulp properties that you need to measure. And then you need to at the end of the experiment 3, you will have a handsheet making experiment. Okay, this one is included in the experiment 3. After that, after you form the paper, you can proceed with the experiment 4. Okay, let's say everything is okay, everything is went well for the experiment 3. Supposedly, you can complete everything within 3 weeks. Okay, and then after that, we will proceed with the experiment 4. For the experiment 4, we will learn about some analysis related to the paper. Okay, for the first half of the semester, you will learn about the pulp. Okay, the pulping process, and then you learn about the analysis related to the pulp. For the second half, you will learn about the beating, and then the formation of the paper, and lastly, the analysis of the paper. Okay, first half, analysis of the pulp qualities. The second half, the analysis of the paper qualities. And then on the week 14 and also week 15, you shall have the practical tests and then also the writing tests. Okay, basically the practical tests, you will work in the group, okay? And then also individual experiment for practical tests also will be carried out, okay? Usually for the group practical tests, I will be responsible for the group practical test. Meanwhile, for the individual practical test will be done by Dr. Hafiz. And then writing tests will determine your final score. Okay, no matter how good your results in your lab report, no matter how good your result for the practical test and also the work quality, but writing tests will determine your final grade. Okay, this writing test will determine your understanding about what you have learned throughout the semester. Okay, so this is, like I said, this is the instructional plan. So it may change depending on the situation, okay, depending on the facilities, depending on the equipment's availability. So if you have any problems, you need to let me know, so I can discuss with Dr. Hafiz. So later on, we can rearrange the schedule for you guys. But you need to remember, at the end of this semester, we need to complete all 4 experiments. By hook or by crook, we need to complete them. Okay, I think that's all for the instructional plan. So before we start with the briefing of the lab manual and the preparation of the lab report, I think it's good for me to share the group member. Okay, this is the list of the group member. Okay, we have 8 different groups. Okay, I divide you guys in each group of about 7 to 8 members. So most of you is 7 members, only group 1, except for group 1. And then I also already appoint you guys who will be the group leader for each of the experiment. Let's say for the group 1, the group leader for experiment 1 will be the Ko Junzwan. Meanwhile, for the experiment 2, Nur Adriana. And then experiment 3, Yolanda, and experiment 4 will be Chua Yong Kang. Okay? I don't want, usually when I have a lab before, the same student will be the group leader. So I don't like that. So I want this kind of, I don't know, this kind of atmosphere change. Okay? I want to change this kind of behavior. I don't want the same person to be a group leader. So I want some changes. So that's why I already appoint the group leader for each of the experiment. So the group leader will be responsible on anything, okay, on everything. The calculation, so you have any problems about the calculation, let's say you have problem for experiment 1. So group 5, let's say. So group 5, only Intan Amira is responsible to have a direct contact with me or Dr. Hafiz. Okay, I don't want other group member to text me anything related to experiment 1 from group 5. Okay, if you want to discuss about the calculation, if you want to discuss about the experiment, if you want to double check either the experiment you have conducted is correct or not, so only the group leader is allowed to have a contact, to have the direct contact. Okay, can contact the lecturers. Okay, so later on I will share the list of the group's members. Okay, and then I want you guys to be responsible. And then other than that, the group leader have the power to give 10 marks for each of the group member. So since later on I will share you how we divide the marks. So basically for the quality works, the total marks is 20%. Okay, 20%. So 10 marks, 10% of the mark will come from the group leader. So don't feel burdened. So you have the power. You have the power over your group mates, okay, of your lab mates. So meaning to say, you need to act as a leader. If one of your group member don't want to cooperate, so you have the power to write in the lab reports, because you will be responsible to submit the final lab reports. Okay, later on I will ask you guys to mention the percentage of contribution. So if you think one of your group member don't contribute at all, it's okay for you to write 0 marks. Previous semester for IWK102, one of your juniors, okay, for the group works, okay, he refused to work together with the groups. Okay, so the group leader texted me. So, and then I said, you can put 0 marks. So for the final exam results actually dropped significantly. Supposedly he can get about B plus, but at the end he only got C plus. So don't play, okay? So please work cooperatively with the appointed group leader. And then as a group leader, you need to act as a group leader. Okay? So later on, I will share with you guys with this list. And then we go back to the lab manual. So the lab manual actually is a very comprehensive lab manual. Supposedly, you can run the experiment with no problem at all because this lab manual has been used more than 10 years. And then all of your seniors able to complete the experiment without any problem. Not without any problem. Actually have a lot of problems because of they cannot understand how to measure the moisture content. They don't know how to run the equipments. That's the thing lah. That's the problem. Not because of the lab manual. So this is the lab manual. I already updated the lab manual. So you need to read carefully the lab manual, also the instructions. So basically in this experiment, in this lab, for the IWA283, we have only 4 experiments. So basically, you only need to prepare 4 different lab report. Okay, so at the end of this course, students are expected to have basic experience doing the final year project of or the industrial training regarding pulping and paper making. So for the student preparation, students need to read this manual and understand the experiment methods before attending the lab so that they will always stay alert. Okay, this is where the group leader need to play their role. I want the group leader, the appointed group leader, to prepare a short note for each of the experiment. Okay, so during the experiment, I will ask the group leader to share your short notes. The short notes meaning to say your flow chart of the whole experiment. So I don't want you to refer the lab manual when you enter the lab. I want you guys to be prepared. I don't want you guys, when you want to run the experiment, only then you read the lab manual. It is not efficient at all. I want you guys to read everything before you come to the lab. You only refer to your group leader's note. Okay? So I want you guys to be very efficient. I want you guys to be always get ready. I want you guys to give full cooperation, especially the group leader. So you need to act as a group leader. And then if a problem occurs, do refer to the lecturers, a lab assistant or assistant research officer or graduate assistant, if any, for explanation and help. Okay, lab apparatus is limited. Don't worry, we have all the lab apparatus, but you need to share. Therefore, students must be cautious and responsible while using the apparatus to avoid or minimize damage. Some of the apparatus, like the digester and refiner, is very dangerous. So don't worry, this one you will operate the machine together with the instruments line. And then for the lab report, I want all the lab report will have the same cover. So this is the front page of the lab report. So you need to use this front page. So you need to write the members and also the contribution of each members, the percentage of contribution. Okay, the lecturers. So maybe for the experiment 1 and experiment 2, I will check the lab report. Meanwhile, for the experiment 3 and experiment 4 will be checked by Dr. Hafiz. So for the experiment 1 and experiment 2, the lecturer responsible is me. Meanwhile, for the experiment 3 and 4 is Dr. Hafiz. Okay, so this is the front page. I want you guys to use this front page. And then this is the most important part, the lab report marking. So the abstract. Okay, later on, maybe I will teach you guys how to write efficient abstract. I don't know, you have learned it before or not, but there is a skill for you to write an efficient abstract. Okay, abstract, the total mark is 5%. For the introduction is 20%. So introduction is very important. The introduction part is the most important part other than the result and discussion. Why it is very important? Because you need to highlight what actually the problem with the experiment that you need to carry out. Okay, so in the introduction part, it's where you emphasize the objective of the experiment. Okay, each of the paragraph 1 have one objective, paragraph 2 have the second objective, and then the third paragraph is to summarize the whole experiment. And then you have the methodology. Methodology, you can refer to the lab manual, but you need to write everything in details, and everything must be past tense. And then we have the result and discussion. For results and discussions, we have 35% marks from overall 100%. Why it carries the highest marks here? It is because I want to see your work quality here. I want to see how you plot the graph. How you plot the graph, how you plot the error bar, how you plot everything related to graph, and how you plot the table. And then I want to have a redundant discussion. Let's say you already have the table, you already have the graph. I don't want you to mention each of the results in the discussion part. You only discuss on the abnormalities of the results, and you only discuss on the highest or the lowest. That's all. And also the trend of the results. Not each of the results. You only discuss the trend, why highest, why lowest, why there is abnormalities on the results. That's all. Only 4 things that you need to have in your discussion. Please take note here, okay? And then you have the conclusions. Conclusion must be reflect to your objective that you have in the introduction part. Let's say in your introduction, you have 3 different objectives, meaning to say, I want to see 3 different paragraphs in the conclusion. Okay? And then for the references, this one is for the CLO4. So basically, like I said before, you need to use more than 10 different references. Okay? You can cite in the introduction part and also in the result and the discussion. Okay, for the appendix here, you can paste, you can put together with your data and calculation. This one only 5 marks, even though it's only 5 marks, but it will affect the overall marks of your lab report. Okay, without good data and calculation, you cannot have a very good lab report. And then for the overall report presentation, it includes, you need to put the page number, not in for the front page, you cannot have the page number, only the second page have the page number, start with the number 2. And then you need to have the figure name, you need to have the figure caption, you need to have the table caption, you need to mention the figure in the text, you need to mention the table in the text, and then you need to use the right reference. Okay, only then you can get 10% mark for the overall report presentation. There are so many things. Okay, for lab, for Iwa283, actually for this subject, for this course, I quite tegas sikit lah, because this is related to your hands-ons. Okay, this is related to your report. Later on, you might work with the industry, so your boss might ask you to prepare a report. So how can you prepare a good report if you don't have any experience to prepare a good report? That's why you have this course. Okay, this is for a preparation for you guys to write a proper lab report, a proper report, and then with a proper report, actually it will help your boss to understand without the need to ask you what actually you write in the lab report. So the lab report must be very clear. You need to emphasize on everything. You need to be very detailed. Last year, only 2 of your seniors get solid A. Many of them get A minus, but only 2 of them get solid A. It is because of the lab report and also because of the writing test. Okay? And then for the course evaluation, even though each of the lab report 100 marks, but for experiment 1, the carry mark is 15%, experiment 2, 10%, experiment 3, 15%, and experiment 4 is 10%. So for the lab report, the total carry mark for the coursework mark is 50%. Tests, we will divide them to 2 tests, practical test and writing test. 50% comes from the practical test and another 15% come from the writing test. And then we will have the work quality. The work quality will come from me and also from the group leader, also from the group member actually. The group member will assess the group leader. Okay, so these are the references that you can use to enhance your understanding about the lab that you will run, okay, the lab that you will conduct, and also you can use these references to support your discussion in your lab report. So I would like to give a brief about the experiment 1 because I want you guys to start the experiment as soon as in the week 3. Maybe in the week 3, I will try to brief a bit about the experiment 1, but it's good to brief you guys about the experiment 1. So experiment 1, actually, we will learn about the chemical and also the mechanical pulping. Okay, you will learn about the chemical pulping like soda pulping and also kraft pulping. And then you will learn about the semi-mechanical, or we call them as a mechanical pulping. So why we call them as a mechanical or semi-mechanical pulping, even though we use a chemical there, you need to understand the difference between chemical and mechanical pulping is because of the use of the temperature. Okay, usually for chemical pulping, we will use temperature higher than 70 degrees Celsius. If the temperature used higher than 70 degrees Celsius, we can identify the experiment as a chemical pulping. But if the temperature used, even though with the presence of the chemical, but the temperature used is less than 70 degrees Celsius, so we identify them as a mechanical or semi-mechanical pulping. So for the first chemical pulping is the soda pulping. So since we have 8 different groups, so group first and until group 4 will use the empty fruit bunch. And then for the group 5 until group 8, you will use kanaf. So I want you guys to compare your results. Let's say for empty fruit bunch, I want you guys to compare your result from group 1 to group 4. And then you need to compare your result from group 5 and group 8 related to kanaf. And then I want you guys to combine all the results and then compare overall results based on the empty fruit bunch and kanaf, even though they might use the similar alkali charge. What makes the screen yield, reject yield, and the accepted yield is different, even though you use the similar alkali charge? Okay, remember, first you need to compare between different alkali charge for the empty fruit bunch. After you compare between 18, 22, 26, and 30, and then you need to compare the empty fruit bunch results with the kanaf results. Okay, so for the soda pulping, you will use the different alkali charge. So the difference of the chemical, the alkali charge is quite significant here. So supposedly the result also, the difference or the result also should be different, okay, among the groups. So this is the digester. Don't worry. When you run when you use the equipment, you will get Dr. Encik Mazlan will assist you guys to use the equipment. Okay, and then this is the parameter. After you calculate the alkali charge, and then you understand here wood to liquor. Wood to liquor meaning to say liquor is the combination of the chemicals and also water. Wood, we are talking about the OD weight. Okay, 200 times 8, what? So 1,600. So you need to consider the water inside the pulp. So first thing first, you need to take out the sample, the empty fruit bunch. You need each of the groups, okay, from group 1 and group 4 until group 4, you need to take some sample and then you need to measure the moisture content. Okay, you need to measure the moisture content. Only then you can measure the AD weight of the sample based on the OD weight. Because the OD weight for this experiment is 200 grams, meaning to say the AD weight is more than that. So the formula for the moisture content for pulp and paper technology is AD minus OD over AD times 100. It is different compared to the bioresource moisture content calculation. Okay, so I want you to report the average number of the moisture content with the standard deviation. Don't forget this. Actually, when I brief experiment 1, the group leader for experiment 1 need to pay attention, okay? Okay, and then you will use this parameter. The only difference in your experiment is the alkali charge. The rest is similar. Okay, the heating time is 90 minutes, the pulping temperature is 170 degrees Celsius, and the pulping time is 90 minutes. That's why for you to complete the experiment, it will take times. You have 8 different groups. Like I said, first come, first serve. Even though the experiment start on Tuesday, but actually I'll allow you guys to start the experiment as soon as Monday. But you need to refer to me first. First come, first serve. You lambat siap, you tak siap lah eksperimen. So you akan menyebabkan the overall result is not complete because of your group. Okay, so each pulping time is 90 minutes. We are not talking about for the digester to increase the temperature. It take about another 15 minutes to 20 minutes. And then for the temperature to drop, only then they will release the gas. So actually about 2 hours to complete one pulping process. Okay, please, the group leader, please pay attention. So you need to book the machine with Pencik Mazlan, okay? And then this is for the soda pulping. For each of the pulping, you need to calculate the total yield and also the screen yield, and lastly the reject yield. Okay, like you see, as you can see here, I bold the text here. Okay, the total yield, screen yield, and also the reject yields. Similarly to the craft pulping, so the craft pulping, we use 2 different chemical. Okay, we use the active alkali, and then with the different sulfidity. Okay, so also we have 2 different sample raw materials. We have the EFB and KNAF. Okay, so later on, I will share you the lab report from your senior, so you can refer to the calculation, just to help you guys to monitor your calculation. I don't want any of you miscalculation. Okay, and then this is for the mechanical and also semi-mechanical pulping. So for mechanical and semi-mechanical pulping, you can start the experiment either one. So let's say the digester is already fully booked. So let's say group 1, group 3, and group 6 already booked the digester. So you can proceed with the craft pulping. You don't need to wait for the digester. Okay, you can use this machine, or actually craft pulping also will use the digester. And then for the mechanical pulping, this one is different. Okay, so this one is different. So this one, you just need to read the lab manual. Actually, the experiment is about the same for all of these 3, but only the chemicals and also the conditions. Okay, and then that's all for experiment 1 brief. That I want to brief you guys with the experiment 1. Actually, experiment 1 is very important. If your experiment 1, you cannot conduct the experiment properly, you cannot have a good result for experiment 2. So you will carry your experiment, your sample from experiment 1 to experiment 2. Because from the experiment 2, we want to calculate the kappa number based on the different alkali charge or the sulfidity or the parameter that you use in the experiment 1. Okay, make sure the calculation in the experiment 1 is precise. Only then you can have a very good result in the experiment 2. Okay, so that's all that I want to brief with you guys with the experiment. So I already briefed you guys with the instructional plan and also for the experiment 1. Later on, I will upload the lab manual, and I also will upload some of the calculation from the previous lab report of your senior. So you can refer to the lab report, how they calculate everything from A to Z for experiment 1. So you can refer to that one. And then, like I said before, the group leader, make sure on Tuesday, on week 3, before you enter the lab, you must bring together, okay, the short notes in flow chart, okay? Anything that is related to the experiment 1 methodology. I don't want any of you refer the lab manual during the lab. Okay, you only refer to your notes. So actually it is not efficient at all for you to run the lab and then every single step you want to read the lab manual. Lab manual is very lengthy here, so worthy. Okay, dia banyak sangat perkataan. So simplify them into flow chart. So it will be easier for you to conduct the experiment. And then as a group leader, you can ask your lab mates, okay, either the notes that you have prepared for the experiment is good or sufficient enough. Okay, if your group member thinks your short notes it's good, you can use the short notes. So if the group member thinks the short note is not good enough, so the group member can help the group leader, okay, to prepare the short notes. Okay, I tak ada dengar tiba-tiba group leader appoint someone in the group to write the short notes for each of the experiment. Okay, so I think that's all. Remember, for Iwa283, even though this is only 2 credit hour course, but the knowledge that you learn from this course is very important because previously you have learned about the theoretical part in the from IWK 103 and also IWK 203. So for Iwa283 is where we want to see either you really understand what you have learned from the previous course or not. This is compulsory. You need to score the subject. If you fail this subject, you need to repeat this course or else you cannot take Iwa383 with Dr. Lee. Okay, Iwa382, sorry, with Dr. Lee. Okay, this is a compulsory subject. So try to learn as much as possible. And then this is when you can ask your lecturers, you can ask me and also Dr. Hafiz anything related to the pulp and paper technology theory. How can you apply in your discussion part in your lab report? So I think that's all that I want to brief with you guys. So later on I will upload the lab manual and also I will upload the list of the group member. So the group leader for each of the experiment, especially for the experiment 1, you can text me anything related to the experiment 1 if you are not sure about the experiment 1. Okay, ramai ni yang tak dapat masuk. I dah nak habis dah ni. So I think that's all. Any question from the floor? Ada soalan tak? You have any questions related to Iwa283? Actually, Iwa283 is tak susah pula I rasa. It's very easy lah the subject. Okay. I believe you guys can did very well for this course. Don't worry. I will try to help you guys like I did with the IWK 203. Okay, but it's all depend on you guys. Either you want to learn, either you want to improve yourself, either you want to participate with the group member, either you want to participate with the lecture. It is all depend on you guys. Okay, like we see here, out of 57 students, we only have 52 participants from you guys. I don't know what actually happened for another 5 students. Okay, so please show your commitment. And then if you have anything, you can knock my door. You can ask any question. Only if the group leader asks the question first. Okay, the group leader must come first. And then you can bring your group mates, okay, your lab mates together to discuss on the lab report preparation. Later on, I might have we shall have maybe an online class before week 3, before we start the lab in the week 3, because I want you, or maybe before you submit your first lab report. I don't know, based on my experience, I believe you guys already have a lab with the bioresource technology and coating technology. I don't know. This is your first time with the paper technology. What I can see is that based on my experience with your senior, most of them cannot write a proper lab report. Be it the abstract, be it the introduction, the methodology, and especially in the result discussion part. So many redundant, okay, so many redundant things, especially in the result discussion. If you already have the result in the table, you don't need to repeat everything in the text. You just mention the trend, you just mention why highest, why lowest, and what happened to the abnormalities. That's all that you need to have in your discussion. I don't want you to write group 1, the result is 70% for screen yield. Group 2 is 72. Group 3, you repeat everything again from the graph or from the table. You don't need to repeat everything. You just mention the trend. From the table, we can see, you tak boleh guna we atau I atau dalam report. From the table, the results is increased with the increase of the alkali charge. That's all. The highest yield is reported from this alkali charge, and the lowest yield is reported from this alkali charge. And then you explain why. If there is no abnormalities on the result, let them be. But if there is abnormalities, I don't want you guys to give an excuse, human error. Human error is unacceptable in the lab report. I don't want to see any of you write human error, or maybe Dylan error, or Kelvin error. No need to mention human error in your discussion. Just discuss the abnormalities. Okay, we assume every one of you put the highest integrity to run the experiment. So meaning to say the provided result is good enough for you to discuss. Regardless the result may be macam graf jantung ke apa ke, actually good result usually will have a bell shape, either concave upward or concave downward. That is the good result. But if the trend of the result is not U-shape, okay, a bell shape, there is something wrong with one of the group. But you cannot blame the group. You need to discuss what actually happened. Okay, the probability that might happen when they run the experiment may be because of when they screen the pulp, so they use more mechanical force to screen the pulp. Okay, and then you terlalu involved dengan machine ke apa ke, so that's the thing you can discuss, but you cannot blame the human. So that's all. So for the group leader, maybe macam mana nak cakap maybe the group leader lah, each of the group leader for experiment 1, you can come to my office before we start the experiment 1, or before you guys submit the first lab report. Maybe on week 5 or week 4, you can come to my office, and then I can teach you guys how to write a proper lab report from the beginning to the end. From the abstract, introduction, methodology, result discussion, preparation of the graph, and also preparation of the table. Okay, for the preparation of the table, I don't want to see any vertical line, only horizontal line. For the graph, I only want to see a graph. You jangan buat graph tebal-tebal, besar macam graph zaman sekolah dulu. I nak tengok graph kecil-kecil je. I tak nak tengok graph yang besar-besar tu. And then I want to see the color that you use throughout the experiment is the same. Let's say for the screen yield, the color for group 1 is yellow. Meaning to say for the screen yield, for let's say for the graph pulping, for the group 1 also must be yellow. That's the thing. So you need to use the same color to represent for each of the group, or maybe for each of the alkali charge that you use in your experiment. So I think that's all. So I will set an appointment or meeting with the group leader for experiment 1. So I will disseminate all the knowledge about how to write a proper lab report for experiment 1. So I hope the group leader of the experiment 1 can share the knowledge with your lab mates. So I think that's all. Thank you for you guys. Thank you for paying attention during my briefing today. So happy holiday. I believe you guys still in the holiday mood because you guys not here in USM. So I think that's all. If you have any question, you can directly text to me or maybe